Holy shit. He said what?
I think our character, who we are at your core, I don't think that shift.
That's why a lot of these celebrities that start these things, they can't keep up. You know, like the Meghan Markles.
I think a lot of behaviors and habits and roles that you end up playing in your life can bring out the best or worst in a lot of people, but you're still who you are.
Like, guys, you don't got to do this. Please, I'm begging you to stop.
I'm a little bit vintage in many ways because I'm from a time capsule of handwritten notes. You have to imagine Siri's not on my phone. I don't have location service, things like that I'm not caught up in the day-to-day tech things that most people are. Imagine Siri's not on my phone. I don't have location services. Back on Instagram was a really big decision, but also it's just been joyful. I'm really intentional in using it as a platform to share joy and to have fun as well.
You just can't keep faking it. It's too hard.
Actually get a drink in peace?
Yes,
Yeah.
we go out a lot. And I love it a lot in our community, in Montecito and in Santa Barbara.
I didn't think this interview could get any worse, but it sure did.
Joe Rogan absolutely demolished the Duchess of Sussex's image. The internet is in a total meltdown, with whispers swirling everywhere. People are losing their minds over her latest interview, where she allegedly told some tales that just don't add up. It's like a perfectly plated meal that you find out was actually leftover takeout from 3 days ago. Now, a comedy legend has entered the chat, and his unfiltered commentary is completely nuking her narrative.
Wasn't there some speculation that she was on Epstein's yacht at one point in time? There was like photos with her and Prince Andrew way back in the day when she was like in her early 20s.
This is the kind of public roast that makes you cringe and laugh at the same time. The question on everyone's mind is, will this finally be the moment the public has been waiting for? The grand reveal of what we've all been suspecting. The drama kicked off with a seemingly innocent question about her daily life, specifically her cooking habits. She lamented that she doesn't have the time to churn her own butter. A beautifully phrased line, I'll give her that. But then, as the interview continued, she contradicted herself by talking about her meticulous process of arranging food on her children's plates. It's a classic case of trying to have it both ways.
And it seems like that lady is a temptress. She's a siren. She's lured him into the rocks.
But I'm really unapologetic about the fact that though would it be lovely to go and churn your own butter? Sure, maybe. I don't have time for that.
You literally waste time in your garden all the time to get flower sprinkles, so you say. How do you have time for any of this?
I don't have time for that. I'm great at ordering takeout and plating it beautifully. And look, and yes, do I have small things where even on my kids' plates, I wipe the side of the plate? Someone might go, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. For me, that's 2 seconds where I get to present something that looks a little bit more beautiful.
I cannot imagine having a meal with Meghan Markle or trying to cook and she's literally cleaning, changing the order on the plates to make... No one cares! I just want to eat!
You can't be too busy for a home-cooked meal, but then have all the time in the world for an edible art project. This is the kind of hypocrisy you could spread on toast, probably even toast that was ordered from a restaurant. But the contradictions don't stop there. The conversation then turned to her new lifestyle brand and its rumored success. The interviewer asked about how quickly her debut products sold out. The Duchess responded with a look of pure gratitude, describing the phenomenon as a double-edged sword for a small business because they couldn't get the metrics.
Blah, blah,
You sell
blah.
out that quickly, you actually, it's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen.
Dude, you're selling like 10 jars of jam. You will not show the figures. They even admitted it. Bloomberg's. We don't know what her figures are, but she's sold out. Yeah, because you're doing this fake sellout where you sell 10, 20 products and then, oh, we're sold out.
The second seasonal drop and 10x our inventory. And thought,
So she went from a 10 to 100, allegedly.
for sure, that would at
They're not gonna buy 100 of these dumb jams. Dude, I bet you bought them yourself.
least last for a couple weeks. That sold out in a couple hours. And suddenly the conversation goes from at the start of this year talking about a few thousand jars and lids to we need to do a purchase order of 1 million.
For anyone who has ever run a business, that is just hilarious. When something sells out, you have all the metrics you need. You have the number of units you started with and the number of units you have left, which is 0. The whole response came off as a carefully crafted story, designed to sound successful without giving any concrete numbers. It was a performance, and the viewers were the audience, but what about the authenticity she constantly talks about?
So in less than an hour?
44 minutes. I was shocked.
How do you keep up with demand?
When you sell out that quickly, it's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen for any small business and any startup. And at the same time, you don't get the same metrics and learnings about which SKUs and products are the most coveted because it's all gone immediately.
The question was, how do you keep up with demand? This is not the answer to that question. She's telling a little story. A whole lot of snapping of the fingers and things being gone immediately and that kind of thing.
The most coveted because it's all gone immediately.
From 2011 to 2017, I was the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, and I helped startups and new CEOs get funding for their companies. I taught them how to pitch, how to get their body language happening so they could be trusted when they're pitching and asking for money. So before I helped them, I'd have to look at their business and make sure everything they said was going to happen was going to happen. I had to make sure everything they were saying was true. And when I heard stuff like this, I wasn't into it. I said,
Then came the bold claim about scaling up her home recipe for her products. She described it as an exasperating process, trying to maintain the integrity of her home-cooked creations on a massive scale. It was a heartfelt plea for understanding, but it felt more like a performance than a real struggle. The reality of food production on an industrial scale involves co-packers, heat penetration curves, and shelf life testing. It's a business, not a romanticized home kitchen fairy tale.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
How long does it take to develop each product? What's that process like?
Oh, goodness. I'm exasperated in some ways by that only because it is such a tedious proposition to scale your own home recipe.
It's not your home recipe. Don't keep trying to claim that it is.
To something at mass and maintain the same, not just quality, but the same flavor that you're able to do at home. And I think any home cook would say that. If you say, great, can you make your cobbler that I love? I said, great, of course I can make my cobbler. Great, can you make 1,000,000 cobblers? Can you teach someone how to make 1,000,000 cobblers that taste just like the one that you have at home?
I love how she's like introducing like it's the first time anyone's ever done this. Like, girl, so many people do this. It's like, yeah, go hire a company who can do
This discussion completely lacked any of the nerdy, technical details that a true entrepreneur would know by heart. The whole thing made us wonder if she's truly the mastermind behind the brand or just the face of a marketing campaign for some other company. But that's not even the wildest part of the interview. The conversation took a left turn when she started talking about her upbringing and the price point of her products. She talked about a memory from high school where she saved up money from her after-school job to buy a rhinestone logo shirt. She explained how this memory inspired her to make her jam affordable so her younger self could buy it. The problem is, her jam costs around $9 a jar. For the average person, especially a teenager with an after-school job, that's not a realistic price point for a jar of jam. The whole story felt like a flimsy attempt to connect with the common person, but it just exposed how out of touch she really island.
Your cobbler that I love. I said, great, of course I can make my cobbler. Great, can you make 1,000,000 cobblers? Can you teach someone how to make 1,000,000 cobblers that taste just like the one that you have at home?
that's not the way it happens. Nobody asks that because there's a process for that to happen. And it's not that. She gets lost there. She's not going nerdy on her. She gets lost. She doesn't know where to go from there. She's heard this talked about, and I'm sure someone said it to her because in the meetings, if she's supposed to be the CEO, those things are talked about. And she's heard somebody talking about that. Again, they've probably told her. She's trying to repeat it and can't remember what to say.
You have to wonder if anyone on her team ever had an after-school job, or if they just looked up teenage struggles on Wikipedia. But wait, there is more. The most bizarre part of the interview, according to those who have seen it, was when she spoke about the jar itself. She said that once you finish the jam, you can use the jar to put your flowers in or use it as a pen holder on your desk. Who in the world develops a product and then tells you what to do with the packaging after you're done? This isn't a new concept, but the way she said it came off as so self-important, like we're all just dying to have a piece of her brand on our desks even after the product is gone. It's a classic case of selling the brand, not the product. It's not about the jam, it's about the feeling of having a piece of her on your desk. This whole thing makes you question whether the jam is even any good or if the main goal is just to create a small, shiny totem to her fame. The brand is allegedly all about joy, but the jam jar sounds more like a shrine to her fame. Then there's the talk about authenticity. She said with a straight face that her brand will stand out because of its authenticity. This is a word she has used to describe her social media presence and her projects, but it's a word that viewers have come to find very ironic. The reality is, everything we see is carefully curated, from the photos to the captions. It's a perfectly crafted image, not real life. And there's nothing wrong with that. Every brand does it. But the problem is when you call curation authenticity, the public can spot the difference. This feels like a marketing strategy to sell an image of being real to an audience that's tired of seeing fake perfection. It's a very dangerous game to play. When you build your brand on the word authentic, but everything you do is staged, you risk losing the very trust you're trying to build. And without that trust, how can she make her next move? Next, there was the discussion about her Netflix deal. The interviewer asked her about it, and she responded by saying that Netflix graciously gave her creative control. This led to a lot of speculation and whispers. Typically, a large media company like Netflix gives creative control to someone who has already proven themselves, and for someone like her, it implies they didn't want to invest much more in her. It sounds like a first look deal, which is not as lucrative as a full-on production deal. It's the kind of deal that whispers to the public that her content hasn't been performing as well as her critics have been saying. It's the kind of thing that makes you wonder if the money is drying up, and if all the lavish projects are just a front for something much less successful. It almost makes you feel sorry for her, but then you remember all the drama and what she said about her retail partners.